Most of you are not actively building a future. You're not actively trying to build the dream life that you want to have. And then you expect it to just appear. Do you know why? Because when you were born in the middle, your parents put food in the fridge. It just appeared. The heating was just on because it was cold outside. We knew you never had that problem. That's why people at the bottom, we understand intricately. We understand this viscerally. We understand that nothing is going to come to us unless we go out there and get it ourselves. And once you have that, you have endless motivation for all things. That is extremely important. You have to train a fighter, a boxer. Do you want somebody who has poor nutrition and poor sleep, but endless fire inside of them, someone poor, to turn them into Muhammad Ali? Or do you want somebody with a good bed and good food, but lacks fire? Which one do you think is going to become a champion? Which boxers have become champion historically across time? Were they rich men? Were they from middle class incomes? Or were they from the ghetto? Were they from the bottom? It is all a test. It's all a test. You watch me because I perform flawlessly, and I'm not afraid to pay the price. You'd be up here with me if you were brave. When I say brave, and this is a genuine question, when is the last time you made a brave decision? When's the last time you took a brave route and did a brave thing? And I want you to actually take a few seconds and ask yourself that question and answer it. Bravery is a muscle like every other one that must be flexed and used to grow. Bravery is extremely important, and Bitcoin's a super easy answer. What's the worst that can happen? You lose your money? Do you think people like us were afraid to buy crypto once we worked it out? Once we were told about Bitcoin at $800, do you think we were afraid to buy it because we might lose money? Do you not understand? People like us don't give a fuck. That's how we end up here. Oh, you're lacking hunger. You're scared to be brave. You're lazy.
I don't want to put my $6,000 into Bitcoin. I might lose it.
Because you lack bravery. So, if you've done nothing brave that you can mention instantly off the top of your head, then what you need to do is something brave quickly. I'm not quitting. That's called handing the prize to somebody else. There are a certain number of prizes in the universe. There are stars that exist. They're just out there. There's prizes. So the people at the bottom have something that you don't have. It's hunger. You need to now, and this is the actionable, guys, you need to cultivate a lifestyle which is going to endlessly give you fire inside of your heart so that you never struggle with motivation ever again. You need to cultivate that with your social circle. So you need to be around motivated, hungry men. You need to cultivate it with the decisions you make. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are losers. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion, fighting the matrix out here by myself. More. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it. The reason you lose is because you've been programmed to lose by all of your experiences throughout life. Winners are programmed, losers are programmed. I was programmed to be a winner in any scenario because I was raised in a very specific way. You were not. So we're going to start at the absolute beginning of why you've ended up a loser, because most of you never self-reflect. You're dummies who never look in the mirror and say, how did I end up where I am? Why am I the person I am? Why do I believe the things I believe? You don't self-analyze. So you don't understand how your own mind works, which means you don't understand why you are where you are. Because before you make a move on the chessboard, you need to analyze your position. By analyzing the board, the smartest thing you can do is to try and take your strengths and play them off against your weaknesses. So if you're poor, you have hunger and motivation, what you have to do is fix the things you don't have. You need to get around rich people. You need to get a good network of people you can trust who have a lot of money. You need to find a teacher who's prepared to teach you how money really works. That's the first thing. The second thing, and your biggest problem to fix, is your monumental laziness. And you have to understand that you innately are lazy. You innately lack hunger and fire. You're innately afraid. You're a coward. You lack the balls it takes in many scenarios to get rich or die trying. That's the truth. People in the ghetto already have the fire. Those brothers already have fire. They're already prepared to do anything it takes. You need to ignite the fire inside of you. You need to make sure there's something inside of you that's going to get you motivated like a poor person's hunger, because you've never felt it before. Because the poor don't need motivation. The poor understand what it's like to be taken advantage of. And the poor understand what happens when you have no money and no food. You don't. You're not poor. You have food in your fridge.
As a man, there is no easy life. Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have two effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. There's two ways to suffer. You either suffer as becoming a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody.
I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, "This has happened to me," I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or, you lost a house, or broke, or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, "My wife left me, I'm devastated," I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making. And you have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling. I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, "Wow, there's no man like you." How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, "Dad's a superhero"? How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I have to live the exact same life regardless of how I feel. So for me, happiness is not a good indicator on how life should be lived.
Well, you need to sit down and look at your life and say, what's going to make me as motivated as possible? Is it developing an imagination to imagine my dream life? I'm sure it is. Is it having a social circle of people who are always trying to elevate? I'm sure it is. You need to then sit there, look at every facet of your life, analyze it one by one, and develop a lifestyle which is going to give you endless fire, because without it, you are going to lose. You are broken inside. You are lacking a fire inside of you, because once you get that fire, you become invincible. The fire inside of your heart makes you hard to kill, truthfully. It is the fire inside of your heart that makes you uncrushable. The kind of cockroach which survives a nuclear explosion. It is extremely important that you are never in a position where you lack motivation ever again. It is extremely important that you never fuck up an opportunity that is handed to you ever again. And these things are conscious choices you make by changing your lifestyle. There's nothing stopping you from winning besides yourself. I have now given you an actionable. The actionable is for you to design your life around getting endless motivation and fire in all ways. Everything you do needs to be deliberately geared and designed towards giving you motivation and making you feel hunger inside of yourself. Then you must take all of that fire, turn it into positive energy, and exude it out into the universe. If you want it to rain and you don't know what to do a rain dance. Perhaps the rain dance will not make the clouds cede. However, God will be happy that you're taking action as opposed to just sitting still, quietly waiting for rain to appear while being being submissive and subservient. No, you have to go out there and do things. God wants to see you take care of what he has given you. Nobody continues to give gifts to the ungrateful. This is absolutely true about life. It's extremely important that you show God that you deserve it. Your discipline will shape your destiny, but it is extremely easy to be disciplined if all you've ever known is struggle. Guys, you as a man should be offended by the fact that my brother and I started miles below you and have surpassed you in every single human metric. That should bother you. But you should also sit there and go, why are they beating me? They started below me. They started the race way back there. And I was so lazy and so stupid, and I took life for granted, and I expected everything to be given to me, that these guys have managed to lap me and surpass me based purely on hunger and grit alone. They had no advantages. All they had was this innate desire to do anything it took. Now is the time. Every single day you need to wake up, take action, and get things done.
Happiness to me is a super interesting concept, because when people come to me and say, I'm not happy, I say, why should you be happy? They're like, what do you mean? I was like, who told you you should be happy all the time without working for it? Happiness is at the top of a mountain somewhere. You ain't been anywhere. You haven't even climbed it.
I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser, because you are absolutely not being correct. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and then to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are.
Nobody cares about men being happy. We talk about women being happy. We want children to be happy. If you look at a full-grown man on Christmas morning, he's smiling because his wife is smiling. He's smiling because his children are smiling. Nobody even buys him anything. What do they buy the dad? Socks? Nobody cares about men being happy. So why do you as a man care about you being happy? That's how you're going to fall into these traps. I'm a very content person. I live a fantastic life. I'm not miserable or depressed. I'm not sad ever. But I don't wake up and go, I want to be happy today. No, sir. I wake up and say, okay, things must be done. And those things will be completed regardless of how I feel. Regardless of how I feel. You can lock me in a dungeon for an unknown amount of time in Romania, and I will still complete as many push-ups as I can possibly do in the dark by myself. What else am I going to do? Sit there and be sad? Happy or sad? The push-ups must be done. It's called duty. It's called honor. It's called pride. So I'm asking you why you don't have them. You could be a genuine force for good in the world. And you know what's funny? The funniest thing, the most ironic thing about all of this, is that if you don't prioritize happiness and you prioritize feeling proud of yourself, you end up happy by extension.
And that's why you've actually had a very bad start in life. You need, and this is very important, not only do you lack fire, you lack imagination. Because when you're poor, let me tell you something poor people do all the time. You imagine. My brother and I used to sit around and talk about what could be if only we managed to get it out. How it would feel to have this car. How it would feel to be in this place. How it would feel to be famous and internationally renowned. How it would feel to go to Saint-Tropez and live on a yacht. How it would feel to be able to fly on private planes. How it would feel to not have to worry about food anymore. My brother and I used to imagine for hours. We used to talk about it. We believed in this version of reality where we somehow made it. Not only do you lack motivation, you lack imagination. And that's why it's very important. You need to start believing you are the man, even if you're not yet. Before I was world champion, I knew I was going to be world champion. You have to believe these things. We had imagination and we had hunger and fire. You don't have those things. That's why you're fucked. Do you not understand? It doesn't matter how tired I get when I fight. I'm never actually tired because I am so desperate to hurt my opponent. I am more desperate to hurt him than I am tired. In all realms, forever. That is the hunger and motivation. That's why boxers start poor. That's why fighters are poor. There's a different mentality they're born with. They imagine being champion. They're prepared to do anything it takes. They have hunger and fire inside of them. There's no middle class champions. None. So it's extremely important you develop your imagination as well as your fire. And I'm saying this to you because there's a whole bunch of you who don't realize how badly you've failed. You need to start imagining what actual freedom is. You need to start seeing beyond the confines of your comfort. You need to start developing the hunger it's going to take for you to elevate to the highest possible echelons and stop being enslaved by your comfort, because that's what you're enslaved by. It's extremely important. Your future is the result of your daily actions. You're defined by what you do today. Lazy now, loser later. Get to work. Now, what have you done today which is going to positively affect the outcome of your future? When have you sat and imagined your dream life? When have you self-analyzed and self-reflected and tried to work out where you've gone wrong to end up such a mediocre specimen of man? Why can't you go down to the dealer and buy a brand new Lamborghini right now? Why not? Is it a lack of money? Is it a lack of, what is it? Is it only money? Are you afraid if you buy one you'll get robbed? What is stopping you? Have you even thought about any of these things? Has it even crossed your mind? It's extremely important, gentlemen, that you understand the chessboard and understand exactly where you are so you can make changes.
If you never make a mark on the world, then you effectively never existed. And when you're gone, nobody will care. And that's very important because you have a duty to your ancestors and you have a duty to God. So you must make a choice. And this is genuine choice to you people at home. Do you want to live in obscurity forever and be invisible and not matter and have an easier life? I would argue that it's not easier because in your heart and in your soul, you're going to feel guilty knowing you could have been something you're not. Or do you want to try your absolute best and struggle and suffer every day of your life, paying the rent for all of the amazing things around you? We pay endless rent. We pay rent for our bodies. We pay rent for our relationships. We pay rent to keep our kids. We pay rent to keep our business. We pay rent to keep our freedom. Every single day is work to pay the rent. It's absolutely never ending, and you have to make that choice. So if you have a pen and paper in front of you, you need to decide. Do you want to be invisible with a lower rent bill, or do you want to be important and work hard and suffer to make sure that the rent is paid? It's a choice you must make, and it's binary, and you must be extremely dedicated towards the decision you finally make. You shouldn't wake up and say, how happy am I today? How does that affect how I act? That's not how I operate. I wake up and say, what must be done? What will allow me to be proud of myself? What will allow me to achieve? And those things will be done regardless of how I feel. And that's how the most successful people on earth all operate. The most successful people on earth don't only do things because they feel happy about doing them.
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person.
The beauty of life as a man is to be great. So you have to sit here and ask yourself, do you want to be a happy loser that's insignificant? Nobody knows you exist. Women don't respect you. Men don't respect you. Nobody cares if you live or die, but you get to smile all the time. Or do you want to be one of the most important people on the planet with a little bit of stress?